Murphy as well. Very shortly we'll talk to Brian Kerr. We'll have Niall Quinn in the football show. Hopefully Dan McDonald as well. He's rather busy at the moment, as you might imagine. Plus Wednesday night rugby just after 8 o'clock with Keith and Maddie. 53106 the text number. We are at Off The Ball on Twitter. We have abandoned our news round. This is in lieu of the news round. The news round is brought to you this evening with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. Kev's here, hello, and Nathan as well.
How are you? Nathan's taking Richie's role, is that what it is, yeah? Yeah, we've abandoned him in the special man.
It's a big day. It's a momentous day. It's a big show. In some respects, today has forced me to think back to the joy when Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane were announced, and it was the dream ticket, and it was so exciting, and
yeah, that's a good point.
Now here we are. It hasn't quite turned out, or certainly finished the way we all hoped. There were moments. So was it the right choice to make? Did it have to be made?
It felt that way. It did. It's sad. You've been asked the question over the last few days: should they go, and would you like to see somebody else come and replace them? Personally, I think it's a bad one to answer, and I wouldn't want to answer that question. I wouldn't, because in general, I think you think it's a cop-out, but it's someone's livelihood. That's the way that I would have always seen it, even when I was a player and players are questioning your ability to be playing. You're questioning someone's livelihood. But it has felt that way to me. It felt a decision would have had to be made over this last 48 hours after that Denmark game, particularly after the game at the Aviva against Northern Ireland last Thursday, was it? Yeah. I think it was going that way. So it's imperative we get to the Euros. That's the way it is in 2020 with games here. That's what's forced the hand of the FAI and John Delaney, yeah.
It's not that 2017 they shot the lights out either, but why do you think 2018 has gone so badly? Why has the arse completely fallen out of this?
Yeah, look, the results haven't been great, have they, since the Euros?
Why? Well, one win in 11.
We've changed the styles. We seem to have set on a certain pattern of play now with playing that five at the back, but we're offering nothing attack-wise, offensively, from the system that we're actually utilising now. When the constant message that I'm hearing is we don't have the players, we don't have this, and which you could argue, yeah, okay, I'd probably take that. We don't maybe have lads that's playing at the top end Premier League football regularly, but we're certainly not playing to the level that we're capable of showing, the level that we would have seen. And I think a lot of our lads...
I guess I'm asking you, why do you think that is? You know, we go from the high point that was Euro 2016 and there's such optimism. Why do you think it's gone so badly wrong?
I don't buy in the fact is that there's been a couple of retirements. I don't think that's the case. Okay. We've not really had... The only player that we have seriously missed is Wes Houlihan. Without a doubt, we've missed him.
It's a big loss.
He didn't start an awful lot of games as well as it was. We were still having this debate during the last 4 years, whenever it was, that Wes was involved under Trapp and Martin. We were still saying, why isn't Wes getting more games?
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily the big issue. It's not.
I guess what I'm getting at is, do you think they lost the players in one way or another? I'm not saying the players down tools, but I'm saying did they struggle to get a message across?
How can you answer that though?
Yeah, I don't know.
In all honesty, we've not heard nothing from within inside the camp. You only need to look at John Walter's Twitter and Instagram post today. Look at James McLean. You know, they've obviously got some amount of respect for him from what
there weren't many others.
Maybe. Who else is on Instagram and Twitter?
Ignore their Instagrams.
No, I know
what
that.
What else a player is going to say? John Walter's one was quite interesting because it was very much about Martin O'Neill and not about anybody else.
Yeah.
There was no mention of his assistant in there. And James McLean and Martin O'Neill have always had a very close relationship.
Yeah, maybe I'm going off on a tangent, I suppose. There, I'm with Nathan. I wouldn't necessarily draw anything from what they're saying on the.
No, but I'm making the point. It's not like there was a queue of them either.
Yeah, I don't.
Seen those two.
I don't know. Who else is on Twitter? No, I don't think Robbie Brady's on Instagram or Twitter. I don't think. Well, Jeff is, isn't he? So I don't know. I've not seen too much from the lads. No, I haven't.
I think it's a different question when it comes to international football about have you lost the squad, because it's not like the club game where you can get a transfer. You don't know how long Martin O'Neill is going to be there. All these players desperately want to play for their country. It's a very difficult situation at an international level because there's nowhere to go. You just have to keep turning up for camps, and if you're dropped, it's a joyless experience. I don't think there's any question that the FAI have made the right decision. Like, you look at the last year, it is absolutely stagnated on the pitch, and it's been chaotic off the pitch. There's been so many incidents, from the contract situation with Stoke at the start of the year through to Stephen Ward's WhatsApp message. Constant leak. It feels as though there's been constant leaks from the squad in various different ways. The dogs in the street now know that the preparation hasn't been what it should be at this level.
Yeah.
So clearly people are talking, and that wasn't there at the start. And maybe the reason we haven't kicked on from Euro 2016 is that we got carried away with that one night in Lille. that it covered up a multitude of problems. Yes, we played better in the 45 minutes against France as well. But aside from that, there's been no great
Sweden was good. Sweden played well, didn't we? I thought we played.
I thought we played well against.
I thought we played well against Sweden.
Again,
sorry, Nath. The question that you're making, has he lost the players? Now, during my reign or during my time with playing, I would honestly say, and genuinely even looking back hand on heart, I don't think the manager would have lost the players through any time. Whether that would have been the real bad time under Stan, the lads were still desperate for Stan to do well, whether that be under Brian, whether that be under Mick, when we had the bad time after we come back after 02. I wouldn't have necessarily said through any of those real bad spells that we would have lost a manager. I've seen it at club level, and I'm not saying it hasn't happened now. I've seen it at club level where players in general across the dressing room are just like, no, it's just not working, it's not right. And subconsciously, their actions are actually saying that as well, with what they're saying on what they're doing on the training ground and actually when they're going onto the pitch. So I don't know if that is the case.
You made the observation over the weekend that they look fairly joyless.
Well, I was even watching them last night in the warm-up, or the other night against Denmark in the warm-up. We had the footage coming into studio, and there was a lot of it watching on the warm-up. Honest to God, I don't think I saw one smile.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking. And now, I understand that further you want to get your match focus is on at that stage. You're in the dressing room and you're having a bit of a laugh, because it's more nervous laughter as well, but it's a release for you. You want to have that bit of, someone makes a bad pass and it's like, what were you doing? You have to laugh at it because you've got to get it out your system. Well, even on the pitch at times as well, you make a bad pass and you just have a look at your teammate and you kind of, what's that? These things do happen, regardless of what. Yeah, you want to get your professional head on, and I get that totally. You're fully prepared for a match, but watching them, I didn't see that at all. And we see the pictures that's released from the FAI Instagram account, the Twitter account. It's all the joy and the fun in the games. But I certainly haven't seen it in the last two games. At Northern Ireland or Denmark, it looked fairly grim watching them during the warm-ups, yeah. And again, it's something that you can shoot me down and say it's absolutely nothing, I'm talking absolute garbage, but it does have some sort of meaning, it does.
How could there be any joy in it, though, over the past year? We suffered one of the most humiliating defeats this team, this group, any group could ever suffer. A 5-1 home defeat when you're trying to qualify for the World Cup. Yeah. And instead of using the next 5 months to sort of regroup and rebuild the confidence, it was all taken up with a contract saga, and if we're not, he's going to stay. How
significant do you think the Stoke situation was in January?
It led to ill feeling, didn't it? We were doing the show, weren't we? And how many messages were we getting sent in? It's got to go now. We're not playing.
Do you think it would have affected things within the camp?
No, I probably don't actually. I don't.
See, I'm looking for reasons for why 2018.
But does it affect it into the sense of when you talk about being joyless, that instead when they were coming back in for friendlies in March and in the summer, been really excited, there's just a sense of, same old.
Yeah, but I go back. Do you know, like we knew what we were doing under some of the other managers that I would have played under, where it would have been backs to the wall stuff. We were getting pelted. But I can tell you something. When we came in, there was still that real good feeling when we got in amongst each other around the squad. We still had good feelings. I would hope that hasn't changed. The message that comes out from every one of the players: we love meeting up together. We love having that crack. But I certainly didn't see it. I didn't see it within just on the periphery of matches, when you're looking for little things that I might be looking too deep into it, and I'll take that if that is the case. But it didn't look to me. It's almost as if everyone was just a little bit fearful of actually laughing at something. That's the way it looked to me. Yeah. It looked to me like there was no one that actually just wanted to take the piss out of somebody else.
Well, if you had seen Roy Keane absolutely destroy Harry Arter, would you feel like laughing an hour later in his presence?
No, it's true. Of course it is. Of course it is. Again, we still don't really know. I'm sure I think
we do. I'll play you the WhatsApp message.
I think the full context are going to come out when you hear what Harry Arter has to say. I'm sure he will say it at some stage. I'm sure John Walters will come out and say exactly what's been said between those two as well. But it doesn't lead to a harmony in the squad, does it? It doesn't, and that's a fact.
I guess about 18 months ago, if O'Neill had moved on for whatever reason, Roy Keane would almost have had first refusal on this job, whereas his standing almost feels every bit as tainted now.
Oh, well, they came as a team and they were keen to always point out that they were a team, unless Martin decided himself that he was going to step away. It feels as though it's over for Roy with Ireland for the next decade. It's football. If you told us 6 years ago Roy Keane will be the Irish assistant manager for the next 5 years, you would have been laughed in the face.
He could well go and do a very good job at club level for 2 or 4 years and then come straight back in.
Exactly. So I wouldn't rule anything out regarding Roy Keane eventually being the Republic of Ireland manager. He's still a very young man, but he has definitely been tainted by this as well in this country. Whereas it's clear from looking at the media coverage today in the English papers and the journalists that are very close to Martin O'Neill, like part of this actually has fed into the last year. O'Neill's obsession with making sure that people in England thought he was doing a very good job because a little old Ireland, they just don't have the players. And whereas we looked at him for so long as being this positive force, a master of motivation, some things seem to flip. That was gone. The constant little digs at the players' ability, constantly questioning the strikers, their lack of goals, instead of what we would have expected from talking to all the players who played with him through the years, who said they would run through a brick wall for him. Been able to say the right thing at the right time. That wasn't there over the last couple of years. There was none of those players playing above themselves when they turned up for Ireland.
Yeah, Martin O'Neill said that in his post-match press conference, or post-match interview, should I say, against Denmark the other night. It's what I do. I make players better. He said that, and you know, I kind of looked at it and gone, you know, that would be a little bit, I don't know, off the wall. I think really, it wouldn't be something that I would be. Well, it wouldn't be something that I would maybe like a manager would be saying. I wouldn't necessarily like that. I wouldn't, because that's blowing your own trumpet. And in my mind, that's not the done thing. But that's what he says. That's what he says. He makes players better. Simply across this year, over the last 2 years, we've seen it. Our best players post Euro 2016 were, of course, Robbie Brady and Jeff Hendrick, and we haven't seen the best of those two when they are coming into the prime years of the career.
No, it's true. Tommy and Drimna, is the new dream team any two from McCarthy, Kerr, Stephen Kenny, Robbie Keane? Well, we'll play the interview we've recorded with Brian Kerr, and it's safe to say John Delaney will not be offering him the job anytime soon. Now does this end, lads? Niall Quinn, FAI CEO, Brian Kerr, Head of Youth Development, Lee Carsley, Under-21 Manager, Big Mick or Kenny as Manager, says Kev. Fran O'Connor on Facebook. Kerr should be back in the Irish fold, put him in charge of youth development along with Carsley, have a younger manager to grow with the players. John Spillane, get Big Sam in. Big Sam has been linked with the job.
Yeah, I've heard that as well mentioned today.
Is that not just going to be more of the same? Like the people who want that dream team there of Niall Quinn, CEO, of all these people who have Ireland and Irish football right down to grassroots level at their heart. Like Sam Allardyce ain't the man for that.
He'll get them organised. He'll get them to Euro 2020.
I think that is the problem, isn't it? Or not the problem, that is the priority now, isn't it? This is what it's almost like. I would still feel that Stephen Kenny would be an excellent appointment, but I'd see that as a long-term appointment. The priority in this next appointment now is get the results quickly from March. It's not necessarily saying we are going to actually go and play beautiful football straight away in March and start to actually build. We might have to build towards that and write off a campaign when we simply cannot write off this campaign, because the priority is the games in Dublin. We have to be playing in those games at the Aviva Stadium in 2020.
So you feel Stephen Kenny is too much of a risk for this campaign? Is that what you're saying?
Again,
you're allowed to give your opinion.
No, I'm looking at... No, I wouldn't be adverse to Stephen Kenny taking the job. But I think at this moment in time, given the position that they're in, I think that if the results started to go wrong or were adverse straight away, then we'd be looking at it and saying he's not up to the job. Straight away we'd have an ill feeling. I think Stephen Kenny, we could be building for something for him over the next 4 or 5 years, because I think he would have the brain. I think he would have certainly the tactical nous. He would certainly get the best out of the players that he would have at his disposal.
So are you saying Kenny, yes, but for this campaign, get tried and trusted, less of a punt, get to Euro 2020, make the 10 to 15 million euro, play those games in Dublin, and then maybe Kenny comes in.
Maybe.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I am saying that. I think that's the best way to do it.
But there's no such thing as long-term in football. Saying that Stephen Kenny can come in at some stage for 4 or 5 years. In fairness to John Delaney, if it's all going to pot, he can't turn around and go, we're planning for the future here. Fans still want to see the national team performing right now. And if it's Mick McCarthy who gets the gig and it starts slowly, everyone's going to go, he's yesterday's man. Yeah. Why have we gone back to him?
It's more of an impact manager. It's certainly more of an impact manager.
How do you know?
Mick McCarthy. Of course it would be.
Stephen Kenny, we don't know.
Because I'll tell you immediately now, the players would immediately, a majority of the players that's playing over in England won't necessarily know a thing about Stephen Kenny.
Who?
Well, I'm telling you now, all the players that have been playing Premier League football, they won't be keeping an eye on League of Ireland. They wouldn't be keeping an eye on what Stephen Kenny is.
Shane Duffy wouldn't know what Stephen...
He would know. He'd know a little bit, but he'd know Mick McCarthy. Mick McCarthy walks into a dressing room, Mick McCarthy, and he'd be like, right, I'm in awe of Mick McCarthy. More in awe, I'm telling you. I think he'd get a more
Shane Duffy, Seamus Coleman, the senior players, David Myler.
So I'd think that. That's the way I would think, yeah. I do think that. I think Mick McCarthy, and I think Mick McCarthy would get a response off the pitch rather than actually what Stephen Kenny's going to give them on the pitch. Stephen Kenny might be more tactically aware on the training ground. He might actually bring a lot more to the players with what they're going to do on the pitch. But I think if you're looking for an immediate response and you're looking for someone that's going to walk into a room and command a room straight away, Mick McCarthy does that.
So you think there will be, in certain players' minds, not an anti-League of Ireland bias, but a sense that, who is this guy? I don't know him.
Well, there
do you think that'd be an issue?
But there is an anti-League of Ireland bias anyway.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
There is. That's
from who?
That's a fact. From
half the squad have come through the League of Ireland.
For supporters that watch Ireland, who I've spoken to over the time anyway.
No chance. If Stephen Kenny comes in, the amount of goodwill that is going to be there, because something that is lacking and has lacked under Martin O'Neill is the actual grassroots. The people who are out coaching teams feel no connection with what happens with the senior team. Now that'll bring another pressure for Stephen Kenny, because everyone feels they own a little piece of him, and actually it probably doesn't matter because the senior international manager ain't going to be down in Bushy Park on a Friday or Saturday night.
Right, so
but they will feel a connection. And if he gets that job, the response that's going to be there from Irish supporters next March, next June for the home games,
whoever gets the job's going to get a response from Irish supporters. Whoever gets the Irish jobs, we're going to get support for the manager anyway straight away.
But who are these players that wouldn't respect them? Callum O'Dowda, Aidan O'Brien.
I never said wouldn't respect them. I said if you're looking for an immediate response for a manager when he walks in the dressing room or walks into the building, Mick McCarthy would immediately grab you more than Stephen Kenny. I am telling you right now that would be the case.
Did Brian Kerr suffer a little bit with that?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And it kills me to say, because I've got so much respect for him. What he brought to me with I think he took my performances to another level. But there was an element of that around the dressing room. Yes, there was.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to hear that. I would think any Premier League or Championship player, even if they've come through the League of Ireland, but particularly those who hadn't, would be
Callum O'Dowda,
iffy about a League of
Callum
Ireland.
O'Dowda and Harry Arter and lads that have grown up in England will not know who Stephen Kenny is. I'm telling you that right now. I'm telling you now, they will not know who he is. They would have heard his name mentioned. They were always manager of Dundalk. Won't know a thing about him. They will not know a thing about him. Or English-born lads will not know a thing about him.
And what do they know about Mick McCarthy?
Well, they know that
that he was sacked by Ipswich.
What? But that's you can throw that out. You can throw that out. You can say, well, Stephen Kenny's been sacked by Dunfermline.
But
that's
Mick McCarthy's... I wouldn't have a problem with Mick McCarthy getting the job. I'm just saying that suddenly we're judging it on what Harry Arter and Callum O'Dowda think.
But this is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying to you. I think Robbie Brady be in the same boat. I think Jeff Hendrick be in the same boat. They'll be getting word filtered through them, but they won't know a thing about him. It's not been disrespectful to him in any way, but that's a fact. It's a fact. They will. I'm telling you. Most of our lads, when Brian would have got the job, when Brian Kerr came into the job, we would have known that, yes, he's managed League of Ireland, he managed at St Pat's, he's done great things with our youth football, but it still would have come in and Brian Kerr, right, show us what you've got. Whereas Mick McCarthy comes into a dressing room and it's Mick McCarthy. That is a fact. That's exactly how it is.
I think you're overestimating the relevance of Mick McCarthy to these younger Irish players.
Well, again, I'm from a different era, of course. I'm from the next generation above, but that would have still been the case with Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane taking that job as well. It would have still been, wow, it's Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane.
Yeah, but Martin O'Neill was a couple of years out of being a Premier League manager. Roy Keane is the biggest star in Irish sport.
Yeah, but all the lads would have been watching Sunderland, would have been watching Ipswich, would have been watching Wolves over the last 10 years and seeing that Mick McCarthy has been coaching in the Premier League and at Championship level. He will be so visible because the lads won't be watching any RTE over in England. They won't be watching any Air Sports. They won't be watching any of that. They'll be watching Sky Sports, seeing Mick McCarthy being interviewed on Sky Sports, so he's visible and they will know exactly who he is.
Or they walk into training for the first week having had 3 or 4 years of a lack of preparation and go, wow, this guy's different. Stephen Kenny, actually, he's meticulous in his preparation. I'm going to give this guy a chance.
That is my point, isn't it? I'm saying to you then, Stephen Kenny then produces what he's going to do on the training ground. But I'm saying to you, if you're looking for an immediate response, that when you're going out, you're actually looking for Stephen Kenny to impress you on the training ground with what he's done, rather than actually being impressed by actually just Mick McCarthy and his presence being there for you. That's the way it would be. And that would be the same with Sam Allardyce. It would be the same if Sam Allardyce were to take the job. It would be the same if Chris Hughton were to take the job. They wouldn't necessarily have to go and impress them with the very first session that they put on or the second session that they put on. It wouldn't necessarily be the case. It would be they're immediately known to all these players. Whereas, and again, Stephen Kenny is in the same boat as Michael O'Neill when he took the job. He's exactly the same position now where he is. If Stephen Kenny goes on to achieve half of what Michael O'Neill has achieved, brilliant. That would be unbelievable. It would be amazing. And I think potentially he's got maybe the mindset or certainly the tools to do what Michael O'Neill has done. But Michael O'Neill, it took time as well. It did take time.
Yeah, I just think you're overstating the relevance of Mick McCarthy in comparison to Chris Hughton, who'll never take the job right now, and Sam Allardyce.
But if we're casting the net out, we're saying, yes, Chris Hughton should be in the frame for the job. I would love...
Oh, I'd give Chris Hughton the job tomorrow, but there's no way in hell you're leaving the Brighton job to take this gig.
No, of course he's not. Of course he's not. But I would love Lee Carsey to be involved at some stage as well. We've got one of the brightest minds, one of the best coaches over there coaching over in England at the moment. I would love him to be involved. Whether or not he will be, I don't know. But this is what I'm saying to you. Again, Stephen Kenny could be incredible for us, and I would hope... I think he would do a very, very good job for us. But I think he's still got difficulties within the squad immediately taking over. That's all I'm saying.
It's a fair point. Not an insurmountable one, and I don't think you're saying it is.
No, I don't think... I never said it was.
I know.
You're actually saying that I'm saying he's not going to get respect. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is immediate respect would come from Mick McCarthy. That's what I'm saying.
Nathan's point, I guess, is he could win it over quickly enough over the space of the first camp. Lads, if two Mayo men can't agree, how is the FAI supposed to please anyone? Says Sean. Brian Kerr was on earlier on. I won't be able, interestingly, to put the points Kev has made there to Brian Kerr, but I suppose it's about more than just a League of Ireland manager versus Mick McCarthy or Chris Hughton. As you'll hear, and we'll play out the interview earlier on, Brian Kerr has no faith in John Delaney or the FAI board, and that's coming next.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.
Future Proof. On Future Proof, we're all about science. We're about facts. We're about getting things right.
We were talking about immunisation. Why were we talking about immunisation? Anyway, we were. And we got a text in.
We actually weren't talking about immunisation.
Oh, we weren't.
This is just one of our random texts.
On the new and